Hi, welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace. I'm Vince Mickens. Wow, there's so much going on in our world of aviation, which we were just talking about. Aviation enthusiasts from all over the world and all over the United States are converging on this small town called Oshkosh, Wisconsin, this coming Monday for the annual Experimental Aircraft Association's EAA Air Venture 2023. It's a mega aviation event. Don't let the term experimental aircraft fool you, though. It's an aviation festival of sorts with thousands of airplanes, hundreds of thousands of people, daily air shows, and much, much more over a 7-day period. But for more details about that, and you should check out my last two shows available on demand from the July 14th and July 7th shows. Today, I get to talk about my favorite segment of our industry, a little biased here, corporate aviation. You're going to meet and hear from a handful of aviation scholarship winners, courtesy of the Women in Corporate Aviation organization that helps with providing pathways for women pursuing opportunities in business aviation. You know, what struck me about these scholarship winners is the global element. WCA, Women in Corporate Aviation, has recipients from places like Panama City, Panama in Central America, France, Kentucky, Colorado, and Florida. The other thing that stands out is the variety of the types of scholarships, from professional pilot, advanced rating support, and aviation maintenance, to corporate flight attendant training and regulatory and professional development, and the beat goes on. My main guest is a 30-year seasoned vet. I almost said 30-year-old, he wished. He's a 30-year seasoned veteran in business and corporate aviation, Jim Huntoon. Jim, who has received his undergraduate and graduate degrees from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, I forgot to ask if that was Daytona or Prescott, He'll tell us in a sec, is currently the Director of Fleet and MRO Partnerships at Viasat, and he is the co-chair of the Women in Corporate Aviation Scholarship Group. Jim, welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace.
Thank you so much, Vince. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be here with our wonderful scholarship recipients and others, just to have this conversation today. And as you mentioned, I've had the great pleasure over the last 3+ years of working with women in corporate aviation. A good friend of mine used to be the president of the organization and asked me a few years ago to come on and assist them, as I've been working with NBAA for many, many years with scholarships, and truly believe in helping others and helping the next generation, but also just opening doors for others. It's something that I feel is my calling to do. And through that, I've got the opportunity to meet so many amazing women and see so many amazing careers not only start, but also see careers continue to grow and develop. And as you had mentioned, for over 17 years, Women in Corporate Aviation has had a scholarship program. The organization's been around for over 30 years, and it was founded by a group of women who, as they looked at business aviation or corporate aviation, said, hey, where are all the other women that are in this industry? And they thought, we need to do something to help other women and provide opportunities for them. And that's how the organization was founded. Two amazing women who are pilots who fly in business aviation, and they started growing it from there. And fortunately, a few good guys like myself also are members of the organization and get the opportunity to assist. When you look at the last few years, we've grown the scholarship program to include both financial training, professional development. We have scholarships for new entrants coming hopefully into business aviation. And our real goal is just to help as many people as we can and really introduce them and open doors. So in addition to providing the scholarships, we do our very best to also provide mentorship and then hopefully open doors that allow people to come into corporate aviation. So it's a pleasure to be here with you. And yes, I am a Daytona grad from Embry-Riddle. And hopefully one of these good fine days, since I have my undergrad and master's, I'm going to maybe get my PhD and become an adjunct and do what I very much love, which is, helping others. Like I say, I remember being 18 years old and stepping on that campus and starting to fly. I was a pilot when I was younger in life, but I love seeing the passion that people have in aviation. Back to you, sir.
Absolutely. Well, I wish you the best on the PhD. I think it's neat that they're one of only a few aviation universities that have a PhD program in the aviation sector. So that's pretty cool. Let me go ahead and introduce our scholarship recipient guests. I was able to snag 5 of them, and looking forward to having this conversation today with them. I'll start out with Tara Serocki. Tara is originally from Denver, Colorado. She's a certified flight instructor. We call them CFIs, but for those of you who may not be familiar with the terminology, certified flight instructor at Oklahoma State University. And she also flies a skydiver jump aircraft for skydivers. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's a nice way and a fun way to build time. We have Meagan Pravden. And Meagan, did I pronounce your last name right? Because I forgot to check.
You did. You got it right on the first go, Vince.
Cool. So Meagan is a corporate flight attendant with quite the resume, including being an NFL cheerleader and ambassador for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not my team, but pretty cool anyhow. And then I know I'm going to really boggle this name, but I'm going to give it my best. Lorine Brouet.
Yeah.
Was that close enough?
That was close. That was good.
Okay. Can you pronounce it for me?
Lorine Brouet.
Yeah. Okay. So anyhow, Lorine is from France, if you couldn't tell already, but she got her inspiration to become a corporate flight attendant from her host parents. Her host dad is a corporate pilot, and her host mom is a corporate flight attendant. So that's about as inspired as you can get right there in your lap. So that's pretty cool. We'll talk to her about that in a little bit. And then we have Christina Estribi. Christina is a senior studying aviation management at the Florida Institute of Technology and Universidad Tecnológico in Panama. So we're really looking forward to hear what she has to say about that and talking with her some more. And last but not least, we have Pamela Rose. Pam, who is from Kentucky, is a corporate flight attendant after a long career in administrative support and as a professional realtor. Pam has trained at Flight Safety International, eFood Handler, and Air Care International. Ladies, welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace.
Thank you.
It's great. Don't be shy. None of you can be shy with some of the stuff that you guys have to do as an aviation career. But welcome to the show. It's really great to have you and really looking forward to the conversation. He kicked it off really well. So he covered a lot of areas, Jim did, with regard to women in corporate aviation. But Jim, I'm gonna come back to you for just a second and ask you if you could expand a little bit about how you became interested in aviation and in terms of where you are now. Tell us a little bit about your career.
Wow, 30 some years ago, I started my journey, if you will, at Embry-Riddle in Daytona Beach. Grew up in a small town in Michigan, even though I'm from Colorado, love my home state. But I had, like many of you, I had somebody else, a couple other people that inspired me. When I was growing up in this small town, I had two teachers that were pilots, one that actually went to Embry-Riddle as well. And when they found out that I had an interest, I mean, I'm talking a high school, I graduated with 33 people in my class, to give you an idea, a very, very small place. So these teachers were my teachers all the way from 7th grade almost through senior year. And they inspired me and said, hey, Jim, there's only one place you really need to look at, and that's Embry-Riddle. And that was kind of where it started. Nobody would know it today, but I was very much an introvert the better part of my entire young life. And that I'm a professional salesperson today and have been for 30 years. Saying that, though, it's I found my home in business aviation. I can't imagine doing anything else. I spent a lot of time at Embry-Riddle helping students there. I go to Lake Area Tech, literally out in the middle of a cornfield in Watertown, South Dakota, for that A&P school. I've made my living in the maintenance side of business aviation, although I'm not an A&P. I started out flying at Riddle and then flying next door. And, I've just, like I said, I've been blessed to find my passion in business aviation. And really, for me, being part of scholarships, not only with WCA, but with MBA as well, it's an opportunity to get to find people like this. And really the best knowledge that I ever have, it's not knowledge that's inside of my head. It's really the trap of people. It's the connections that you make with people. It's the commonality. When you read the scholarships and essays, and I've said this before, it takes me back to when I was starting out in my career, and you see the commonality of people, and honestly, you see the goodness in people, that no matter what walk of life you're from or where you're from, you see common characteristics of people that you want to help and that you want to get to know. So, for myself, so far, 30 years, worked for Gulfstream Aerospace. I currently work for Viasat. I've been in connectivity about the last 15 plus years. And that's ever changing. You couldn't have 10 years ago, we wouldn't have been doing this Zoom call like this, right? We wouldn't be reaching an audience around the world and have the opportunity to do this. Today, we connect business aircraft, my current company, in the same way. So
yeah, and I think it's very cool that we can have these Zoom calls like this and have somebody that's in France and somebody that's in Panama, et cetera. And we're all right here having this conversation. So the other thing I wanted to mention too is that I think it's really key that we are able to have organizations like Women in Corporate Aviation and some of the other ones, the MBAA, et cetera, that can bring us together in a networking fashion, as well as keep us up to date with what's going on in the industry. But for people that are entering the industry or advancing their way through the industry, organization like Women in Corporate Aviation is a great way to do that, to get involved, whether it's volunteering for a committee, attending some of the events, et cetera, and so forth. I think that there's a lot of value in that. You were talking about being shy. Jim, you and shy are not in the same sentence, but that's okay. I'm going to let you get away with it anyhow. Mm-hmm. But you brought up something, you touched on something that I also think is very important, and that is for younger people to realize that networking, which is a cliche of a word, but a very key one, but really getting to talk to people in the industry and becoming friends with them or acquaintances or whatever can be very valuable to your career. And in some aspects of the industry more than others, but generally speaking, it's just a really important thing to do. So I'm going to use that as my own segue to go to some of our scholarship recipients and talk about it. And I love this variety that we have, not just on the international flavor, but we have some that have made a career change, like Pam Rose. We have some that are just getting started on their professional pilot track, like Tara. And we have some that are interested in aviation management, like Christina, et cetera. So, all of you have different things. We have some like Lorine that was influenced by her host parents who happen to work in this industry. You don't get better influence than that, to tell you the truth. So I'm going to start out with Tara. And Tara, tell us a little bit about you and about your pursuit of what you want to do. Tell us about how you felt about winning this scholarship and what it means to you.
Yeah, thank you. Excuse me, you'll have to kind of excuse my voice. So yeah, I'm a flight instructor and I also fly skydivers on the weekend. But my goal is to end up in corporate aviation. I didn't have any influences growing up to get me involved in aviation, and it was really just a discovery flight that my mom paid for in high school that really got me interested in flying. But I went through college thinking that I was going to go to the airlines and, work for American or United or something like that. And we had some alumni come back and give a presentation on their job. And I was like, oh my gosh, that airplane looks so much cooler. And the lifestyle just seems so much better. Like,
there goes one for corporate aviation. Go ahead.
Exactly. But I mean, like you said, I fly skydivers on the weekends, so I'm not really worried about, taking a common path or doing the same thing that everyone else does, or because aviation has so many different facets and everyone has a different path, that I think corporate aviation fits somewhere right in the middle, where like you can control your own path and journey and stuff like that, but you're not just a number at an airline. A lot of the places you can work at are mom and pop places, or you can work at a big kind of airline like as NetJets or something like that. And honestly, this is kind of a shallow answer, but I just think the airplanes look a lot cooler. So that's like the main push.
Aesthetics means a lot. No, I hear you on that. You if I have it correctly, you got an advanced rating scholarship from Solaris. What will you do with that scholarship exactly?
Yeah, so I'm trying to get my multi-engine instructor rating, and that's kind of been a goal of mine, because when I was going through flight training at Oklahoma State, it wasn't until that I passed my commercial multi-engine check ride that I really felt like I kind of belonged in aviation. I had gotten my private pilot certificate and my instrument rating before that, but it was almost like an imposter syndrome type of deal where I was going through flight training and I was like, like maybe I'm supposed to be here, but I wasn't entirely sure. And then I had an amazing MEI, or a multi-engine instructor, help me get through that a really challenging program. And I was like, this is something that I want to give back to students either at Oklahoma State, or if I don't work there, somewhere else in the future, because that was really the pivotal point where I felt like I really belonged in the aviation community.
Yeah. What would be the ultimate for you in terms of once you get, enough hours and get all the other ratings, what's the ultimate job for you?
Oh man, that's a tough question. On my bucket list is to fly a Gulfstream. So any place that has a Gulfstream, I will be knocking on their door, sending my resume in. I don't have a specific place, but that's kind of the nice thing about like corporate aviation is you can kind of do whatever you want. So as of right now, I'm still kind of shopping around. I would like to go to NetJets. Maybe eventually they have I don't want to shamelessly plug them. I've done some research on them, but
no, it's
like
okay.
A pretty good place to go.
Yeah, well, in the business aviation world, they're one of the big players. So that's a good one for you. Absolutely a good one for you to look at. On the other end of things, we have Christina. Christina, you're at the very beginning of your career, and there's a couple of things that I'm really curious about. One is how you came about choosing aviation management, but then I probably should just ask you, how did aviation come into the picture for you, period? So tell us a little bit about your background, but I would like to know how you chose aviation management and what the scholarship is going to help you with.
Hi, first, thanks a lot for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be a part of it. So right now I'm a senior student in aviation management at Florida Tech, as you mentioned, and Universidad Tecnológica de Panamá. It's like a double degree, and we came to like receive both of different countries about studies, about USA professors and Panama professors. So it's a really interesting bachelor degree. And well, since my childhood, I have lived pretty close to our airport. So that's one of those things that made me be passionate about aviation. And I like to connect with people by participating in community groups that lead and inspire others to bring out their best from themselves. And I love culture, flying, languages, exploring planes, and what another career than aviation that puts all my passions together, which is like such a different perspective on how to see the world around us. And I'm currently working on an FBO here in Panama. It is called MAPIX. I don't know if you have heard about it, but it's like the
I have, because I know Panama, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's like the first FBO here in Panama. It has 40 years old, actually. And I started there as a customer relations executive, where I was promoted after 7 months to be a business relations advisor next to the general manager, which is a pretty good different perspective of the company, which is like a pretty big company. It has like 5 or 6 companies inside of it. Every company, it's about private flights. Like we receive a lot of NetJets every day, and we receive a lot of people, VIP people, like singers that comes to hear in concerts in Panama, which is like a pretty amazing opportunity to maybe not to take a picture with them, but maybe to see them like, hey, and it's so excited to see them pretty close.
To wave at them, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, no, like hi.
I commend you though for how you entered the business in the sense of willing to take a customer service position to get started. We and Jim and I and others in the business, we advise people all the time to say, hey, take what you can to get inside so you can work your way up rather than trying to just work from the outside for a particular position. So for somebody being as young as you are to step in there, do customer service, and then a short while later start telling me you're a business relations or advisory person, I'm like, okay, that's pretty significant, but it also supports what you're doing with your studies, and it's going to pay off for you as you move further into the industry and things like that. So hats off for you to have that opportunity. Kind of a unique situation for you to be doing dual degree at the university there in Panama, and then also at Florida School of Technology. What's that been like for you to study in both realms? And you were mentioning that even the professors kind of trade back and forth.
Yeah, they comes like twice a semester here, and they give you like 2 weeks straight, like one subject, and it's pretty great because I think that from like the studies from USA, it's so much better. They are like so much abroad and comparing with Panama, but it's pretty good because I remember that one of the professors, they taught us general aviation subject, and he was the one that told you like, hey, if you want to go and start in the aviation industry, go start on an FBO, and maybe as a front desk or a customer is such a pretty way to start in the aviation industry. And I took that advice and I went right ahead to look for FBOs, like, hey, I want to start in the aviation industry, and then do the interviews and everything. And it was a pretty good to start. It's like a school work, because everything that you learn in the college, you apply it here every day in the job. It's pretty good.
Yeah. How did you find out about the Women in Corporate Aviation Scholarship?
So I started to look for it maybe with that professor that I told you that he knows a lot of general aviation. He posted about it, but besides that, I was before an Iowa for the International Aviation Women's Association recipient too. So I started to look for another associations that support women in aviation. So I found Women in Corporate Aviation too, and it was pretty good.
Well, I was asking that question, and I put it out to everybody, but scholarships, there are a lot of them that are available from Women in Corporate Aviation and all of the other ones. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't take advantage of them. They either don't know about them, or they don't apply, or if they apply, they stop halfway through, and they're missing out on money that's just sitting on the table, ready for somebody to take and advance their career or enter the industry. So that's one of the reasons I also asked you that question. I'm going to go to the other end of the spectrum for somebody that has had basically a full career. Pam, you know I'm talking about you, right? So You've done administrative support, you've been a professional realtor for decades, and now you're a corporate flight attendant, and you're delving into an area that is a great sector of the industry, but it also has its challenges. Now, you've had a lot of great training, and you've got to be considered an expert in aviation hospitality, and then put that on a private jet and good to go. Tell us a little bit about you and how that all came about.
I was registered to go to flight safety, and I won a scholarship for my initial training through Women in Corporate Aviation in the fall. And then in the spring, I applied for another scholarship because I wasn't having much luck, and I knew I needed additional training to move into the industry because it's so competitive. And to my great surprise, I won a scholarship for the business aviation hospitality in the spring. So I've started that training. I haven't completed it yet. It's an online series, and then I'll go down to probably Air Fairfax in Fort Lauderdale and do the in-person and put everything into practice what I've learned online. So I'm just really working hard to get that first break and get my first flight. I'm ready to serve.
But where did aviation come from? I mean, all these years you were doing other things, and how did aviation come into the picture?
Well, my husband worked in aviation for GE Aircraft Engines as a program quality manager for years and years. And then I had a friend who was a charter pilot for NCAA and NBAA basketball. And I kind of joked, I said, I'll be your flight attendant. And he just laughed me off and then didn't really go anywhere. And then my daughter got married, and her mother-in-law is a flight dispatcher, and we get together, and she was telling me all about all these corporate flight attendants. And I said, I'm going to do that. I'm tired of sitting behind a desk. And that's how I started to pursue it. She said, you have to jump through a lot of hoops. I said, well, bring them on. I'm ready. So with help
Wow.
from aviation, I'm on my way.
And the rest is history, as they say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jim, tell us a little bit about, I'm sorry?
Better late than never.
No, it's all good. Obviously, Women in Corporate Aviation agrees with you. They gave you 2 scholarships. So, and Jim, I was going to come back to you and just ask you, tell us a little bit about the organization, a little bit more about Women in Corporate Aviation, what it's currently doing, and what's the mission, what's important to the organization.
Yeah, so WCA just celebrated a big milestone here just at Women in Aviation at the annual conference. So for over 30 years, the organization has been around. And to your point, you look around business aviation, and quite honestly, a lot of business aviation looks like myself in that. And WCA, I would say, is doing its best to try to help change that look a little bit, but also just to give opportunities to other people, and as I said, you look at aviation as a whole, we all come from different walks of life, we're from different backgrounds and what have you, but WCA specifically is trying to help the ladies that founded this. I remember Liz saying that I went to an MBAA event, and she said, I looked around the room because I wanted to see where are the other women in the room. And she was the only only lady in the room. And she said, I got to help change that. I got to do something. She's a corporate pilot herself, the person that founded the organization with a couple others. And through that, they said, we need to be able to get together as a group of women, or we need to be able to help open doors. We need to actually show the opportunities that are out there for everybody. And that's kind of what, inspired them. This many years later, when you look at the group, our vice president is an international person. As you mentioned, our business aviation is a global entity. So there's people from all walks of the planet and all places on the planet that use business aviation and aircraft. Our membership is very diverse, I would say, in that, as we have people from literally everywhere around the world that are members. And again, kind of the common goal, this whole networking piece and the things that we're doing right here is really that goal, is to help other people. I can't say it. That's kind of simplistic to say it that way, but that is the reality, is that, this group of women, when they founded it, said, we want to help other women open those doors, break down the barriers, and actually come into business aviation, because it can provide an amazing career. And so that's what they did. And this many years later, they're still out there finding people like myself and others. When I put that I was the co-chair, I have a fantastic fellow chair that works as a technician. She was an Embry-Riddle grad on the maintenance side of the house, and she's currently a technician working in the Atlanta area. And, again, she's 20 some years old and working in business aviation on corporate aircraft. Tara, I love your fact. I worked for Gulfstream Aerospace for 10 years of my life. I think they are some of the most amazing aircraft ever built and continue to be. And we can help you with some of those opportunities that you mentioned. But it is about the networking piece, right? That's
Tara's like,
Women in Corporate Aviation is. Yes, exactly. We can do that.
Yeah.
But it is, WCA as a whole is out there trying to help serve others. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's really what
Absolutely.
the organization is doing, trying to help others and really open the doors that maybe have been closed, for many years for other reasons.
Absolutely. Meagan, you have been in a corporate flight attendant for a number of years, so you have quite a bit of experience. Tell us about your involvement with WCA and how the pursuit of a scholarship came about for you to advance your training in that sector of the industry.
So thank you for having me. I've done a lot of flying, but I've actually only been in the industry about 13, 14 months. And to that, I say networking is everything. And everyone thinks that I've been in the industry a lot longer than I have, because I know a lot of people. I never turn down an opportunity to network in person. And I encourage anyone watching this or who will watch it later. I got a call to go down and meet some people with a management company. I got the call 12 hours before they needed me, 4 hours south in Florida. And I took that opportunity because it's so critical to me to take any opportunity to network, get my name out there. That's how I met Tim Kirkwood and Liz. So I attended MBAA my first 4 months in the industry, where I met a lot of now my mentors. I was, after some networking at MBAA, I was able to connect with Roxy, actually, who sits on the board for WCA, as well as Scott Arnold, and they invited me to be on a committee as a new to industry flight attendant to help throw the first flight attendant conference under the Sea Crew brand, and that's where I met Pam. So again, it's an incredible opportunity to get in the Facebook groups, get in the WhatsApps. I actually run regional WhatsApps for across the entire country, and my newest baby, which I haven't told anyone about, is actually I have so many friends that are aspiring pilots that are current flight attendants that I would like to get WCA and some pilots involved in really helping flight attendants transition and understand what resources, what grants, what scholarships are out there for them. So stay tuned. I haven't launched it yet, but I really want to help bridge the gap because I'm actually a child of a Vietnam veteran and former pilot. My dad flew Hueys in Nam and is still with us, which we're very grateful for. And so he was kind of my inspiration of getting into the industry. And it's been really special because he is older to share this bond and this love of aviation with him now. So that's just
I'm sure he's very excited.
He is. He's thrilled and very proud. And he never, there were a lot of layoffs happening on the commercial side of things when he was trying to transition. So unfortunately, that wasn't a pathway that was open for him at the time. There were a lot of people being furloughed and laid off. So he never got to realize that dream, but he did, he was in the reserves for many years after he got out of the Army. So very proud of him and his, what he's done to serve our country, and definitely a really special bond that we now share, both being in aviation. So.
Awesome. Lorine, we haven't forgotten about you, but you have an interest in becoming a corporate flight attendant, and I think you indicated on a kind of international scale. But how did this come about? Besides the influence of your host family, what made you, in particular, pick corporate flight attendant, and how did you get involved with women in corporate aviation?
Okay, so I moved in the U.S. a year ago, to improve my English and discover new culture, new person, and everyone around here. So I became an au pair. So I was taking care of a little girl, and both of her parents are a pilot and flight attendant, and the entire family is working in aviation. So I was really in the middle of everything, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do in my life, a little bit lost. So I was like, whoa, that's interesting. So I started to talk about it, ask questions. I met new people because of their, the result around them. And at one point, I was like, whoa, I should try at least to know more about it and discover more. So my awesome sister told me about the scholarship because it's a little bit expensive to start a career in aviation. And she was like, you should try and apply and see what's going on after. So I decided to do it like that. It was like not expecting anything. So when I received the email, I was really in shock. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is a really good opportunity for me to start. And so I'm really happy to do that and excited. And yeah, I'm really enjoying that now.
So you're going to use the scholarship to take a course, right?
Yeah.
For being a corporate flight attendant?
Training. Yes.
Okay. And then your plans are to just push ahead and try to start working in the industry?
Yes. This is my goal.
Very good. So I think, one of the things, and I'm coming back to you, Jim, about this, is wanting to talk about the opportunities that are there that people aren't always aware of. And since you've been doing this for a long time, what are some of the thoughts that you have about getting more people to know about it, but to also realize the value of of going after it in terms of what you guys offer there at Women in Corporate Aviation?
Yeah, and you said something initially, Vince, when we started. There are so many scholarships that are out there, and for all of you, I'll just say this: if you get online and there's so many different organizations, as the Aviation Investment Act is kind of kicking in, there's a lot of money in the U.S. trying to help promote aviation, scholarships of all types, and trying to promote. We need more people in aviation. Bottom line is there's never been a better time, whether, folks go commercial space. We hope they come into business aviation, but the opportunities are out there. And when you look at scholarships, oftentimes, I'll tell you, even through this last round, people wait to the last 2 weeks. It doesn't matter what the scholarship is, doesn't matter what the opportunity is. They wait till the last couple of weeks generally to put their applications in. I thought we were going to have one of our smallest rounds ever. We ended up having more than 200 applications, which is phenomenal. It was great. And it is pretty amazing to me. The largest majority of the applications we get are from flight attendants. We have more scholarships for flight attendants, but we get more applications. So all of you who received those scholarships should be very proud of yourselves, because I can tell you the competition for those scholarships is incredible. And there's a lot of very deserving people, but just, I use LinkedIn. WCA certainly has, Stacy does a fantastic job for us, Stacy Everett, in pushing out to social media. But I also love using people like yourself that see the benefit, that go through a course, that hopefully meet the other people, and attending that first crew conference and meeting other people. That's kind of what, the networking piece of this. And you can never underestimate your opportunity when you meet somebody else, the doors they might open for you. And generally, the other thing that, when I go to Embry-Riddle or other places, I try to talk about, and I don't necessarily know that younger people really get it from me, and maybe I just don't relate with the right words, but we are willing, business aviation, corporate aviation people are willing, I think, to open doors and to go out of their way and do the right thing for others when nobody's looking. And I know a lot of people that fly in the airlines. I went to college with a lot of those. And I see just very different careers that they have. They have a job. I have a career. I have a passion. I have a network of people. I have so many amazing friends around the world, in essence, that are all from business aviation. They're people like yourselves that get blessed to have the opportunity to meet, to work with, sometimes, directly. And that's what WCA with these scholarships. So you can never underestimate, no matter what it is, the value, if it's financial, if it's a training course or whatever. Every one of those are worth their weight, because they can introduce you to other people. Even if the scholarship itself might be minimal, the networking piece that you get from being part of any of these organizations is fantastic.
Yeah, I echo everything that you just said. And somebody brought up something earlier too. So we advocate a lot for business aviation because it's an industry that you don't hear enough about, and you don't realize the opportunities. It's automatic, and somebody touched on it earlier, that you think of airlines. Not poo-pooing the airlines. It's a great career, a great opportunity, and it's wide open right now in terms of those opportunities. But so is the business and corporate aviation side of the world. And in both instances, whether you're commercial or whether you're corporate, you can be a pilot, you can be a corporate flight attendant, you can be a mechanic, but there are a plethora of other opportunities that exist in it too. Christina, you talk about aviation management side in the FBO world and things like that, which I was going to ask you, Christina, after you finish all of your studies and everything, with the experience that you currently have, what do you think you want to do? What's your plan for your next step?
Okay, so I really want to try to get like the chance to be on on an international organization. Maybe they're doing like an internship to start, and after I finish my degree. But I really like the corporate aviation. I think that you have this relationship, this closer relationship with the customer that you might not get when you are on commercial. And I think I want to try to maybe open the chance to be here in the corporate aviation or try to in another like international organization to go outside of Panama. I will try.
You're just looking for some air conditioning. No, if anybody doesn't know, Panama stays hot pretty much 24/7, 365 days a year, except at night. It gets down to like 75. Christina, I'm going to move to another area that I wanted to ask everybody about, and I'll start with you. So you have a lot of peers that probably are trying to figure out what they want to do and, in life and careers and things like that. Specific to aviation and with your experiences to date, what would you advise others that are considering this industry or interested in it? What kind of advice would you give them?
Okay, for example, in Panama, in my college, I think that not much of the people will know about corporate aviation. They just like focus on the only airline that is here in Panama. So I will advise them to try it in another companies to, if they want to start in this industry, maybe go start like an FBO, maybe with some authorities from the aviation, with these companies as IATA, ICAO, they give these internships opportunities and maybe some jobs that they're going to start in the industry. And they give like a lot of chance to be in the industry. So that would be my advice, like go abroad and maybe focus on, don't change your focus, but maybe go abroad on your chances of how to start in the industry.
Broaden your thinking.
Broaden thinking, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Tara, how about you? You're doing kind of a grassroots thing in terms of building time as a flight instructor, building time flying jumpers or skydivers, I should say, and things like these. I saw a little military come out of me, but anyhow. But what thoughts do you have for people that are again trying to enter the industry or are just getting started or are working their way through it like you are?
I think the most important thing to think about is keeping an open mind when you're going through what you want to do. When I was growing up, my career assessment said that I should be a teacher. And I was going through middle school and high school, and I was like, yeah, I don't really want to be a teacher. But as it turns out, I'm a flight instructor now. So I can kind of combine aviation and teaching kind of strengths that I have, to build off of that. And I mean, when I went into college, like I said earlier, it was just it was just the airlines. Everyone had been brought up, I'm going to United or Delta, like their parents were there, maybe their cousins or, uncles, aunts. And so they had a hard set thing. And so I thought that was the only path to choose. And I mean, I've flip-flopped my decision, 2-3 times. And I think just not being afraid to, change your mind and, if there's a better path somewhere else, then go ahead and take that. Don't be afraid to do something that's different than what other people are doing, because at the end of the day, it's your life, and what will make you happy is different than what will make someone else happy. So I think just not being afraid to try other things.
Sure. Pam, I can only imagine what you've seen through life in terms of the experiences that you've had. And now you have made a really significant career shift going into a new area. And you've openly admitted that's been challenging for you. But in terms of others who want to enter into this industry, and particularly for the younger set, what kind of advice would you give them in terms of the things that you've seen and what they should be looking out for?
Well, no matter where they're at in life, if they want to do something different, go ahead and do it. No matter how hard the obstacles are that you're going to face. I know I kind of get a lot of laughs from my friends when I tell them I'm a corporate flight attendant, and they say, "What are you doing? It's time to retire." And I said, "No, it's time to live." And when I worked at Xavier, I worked in classics and modern languages, so I was exposed to people from all over the world. with my husband being in corporate at GE with the engines. I accompanied him on business trips all over the world. And I just thought it was my time and just go for it.
So just make it happen. Don't let anything stop you.
Don't ever think you can't.
Absolutely. Lorine?
I would say to go outside because I discovered the world of aviation by just knowing people in the across the ocean that I would never think about knowing before. So I would really say that go out of your comfort zone and discover the world, discover new people, talk with people, don't be shy, and explore.
Yeah. Straightforward. Meagan, NFL cheerleader to corporate flight attendant. Recommendations, advice?
Well, I actually know multiple NFL cheerleaders who are now corporate flight attendants, and they're all amazing at their job. There's a lot of reading the room, being around high net worth individuals. There were a lot of things that previous career, both as a performer and as an ambassador for an organization such as the NFL, that really prepares you. So I always say to anyone in that realm, I encourage, but it's not limited to that. I was in business development for a construction company who had 2 corporate jets, and I had a plateau in my career. I mean, I'm in my mid-30s and I just came into aviation last summer. So, you know, similar as Pam, it's never too late to change your trajectory, change your life. I've never been happier, more fulfilled ever than coming into this career. Like, truly can't get goosebumps thinking about it. So I say it's scary. My mom thought I was insane. She's like, well, what happens if you pay for your initial training and you don't get a flight? And I was like, I'm betting on myself, Mom. I'm betting on myself. And that company that I quit gave me my first flight 4 days after initial training. So never burn a bridge, take a chance on yourself, bet on yourself, and network. Those are my biggest takeaways from this. And like I said, I'm still relatively new, but all those things are, I think, what has brought me here today. And I use those networking, the WhatsApp networking groups to promote the scholarships. So I hope that it influenced the spring scholarships, and I hope that it also helped with the number of applicants for the NBAA scholarships for the fall. So, you know, I always encourage people, and now I get to be a recipient myself and say, hey, I took a few hours of my day and you know, wrote an essay, and you can do it too. So I'm actually using my scholarship a month from yesterday down at Da Vinci with Miss Paula. So looking forward.
Miss Paula. She's wonderful, yeah. And she has a wonderful operation down there. So hats off to you for that. You know, hey, before I go to, I'm sorry, Jim.
I wanted, as all of you just kind of kicked in something that was really, I think, great, and all of you have said it in different ways, but I have a daughter that's an aerospace engineer. She's literally a rocket scientist and very proud dad, watching this young lady go through aerospace engineering school at Embry-Riddle, working, put the first billionaire in space for Richard Branson, and she was on the comms for the rocket and that, and she works in that today. She is getting ready, and she told me just about a month ago, she said, Dad, I've got something I need to talk to you about. I'm like, okay. She goes, I think I'm going to leave aviation and I want to go be a nurse. And I went, wow, okay. But to what all of you have just said, she's an amazing person. I have no doubt she'll do it and be very successful, but it's never too late in life. I've said, Madison, if you haven't learned anything from your dad through this many years, you have to find your passion. You find what makes you happy, and you'll be able to help and do good things with other people. And that's what I hear from all of you as well, right? Like, you have to, it doesn't matter what I think you should do, or it doesn't matter what somebody else thinks you should do. You're all a great example of the fact that you're finding what you want to do in life, and you'll be very successful at it, because it will come out in your everyday work. It'll come out with other people around you in that. And I think it's great. And I just wanted to share that because, like I said, my own daughter very much the same way as a brilliant aerospace engineer. And it's like, nope, that I'm going to go do something else. And as I told her, I said, you never know, Madison, as we start colonizing out into space, you're an aerospace engineer that's been working on rockets. You may be able to take that nursing degree and combine them together and go to space as a rocket engineer that's a nurse or something. Who knows? So sorry, Vince, I didn't mean to derail, but I just wanted to share that.
No, that's a great point that you make. She may circle back because there are a lot of opportunities. It's something I like to talk about frequently, and that is that whatever your skill set is, it can be applicable in our industry. And telling a very brief story, I did a show with Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics where they train for A&P and things like that. And there was a young lady that was a guest on the show, a student who was about to graduate after 2 years, and then it was getting her FAA certification to be an A&P. And she sent me an email a couple of weeks after the show and said she had been hired by SpaceX. Yep. And I thought it was cool, but I thought, wait a minute, SpaceX hires A&Ps?
Absolutely.
It makes sense when you think about it, but you don't think about things like that. So point well taken. Or the guys coming back from the International Space Station, somebody in medicine has to look at them and examine them and all of those kind of things too, going back to the medical side of things. What I was getting ready to say, and I was going to go to you afterwards, Jim, but what I was getting ready to say, coming back to something that Meagan brought up and that we've talked about a little bit throughout the show, and that's going back to the scholarships. Yes, we're talking about women in corporate aviation scholarships and the recipients, and applaud all of you who were recipients of it and have had it's enhanced your opportunities. But there are scholarships available with most of the alphabets, most of the associations. So NBAA, AOPA, Women in Corporate Aviation, Gamma, all of them have different scholarship programs that are available, as I said earlier, that are just sitting on the table waiting for people to apply. And to a point that Jim made, sometimes people are last minute about it, but also the point that I was trying to make is sometimes people either don't think, they make their own call about themselves and say, well, I'm probably not going to get it. Or one of you had said you were surprised when you got the email. So you applied, but you really didn't have a lot of confidence that you were going to get it. But you'd be surprised at how many of you, or how many that are out there that are interested, are qualified or will have the opportunity to get something. A lot of scholarship money at the end of the year is put back in the bank, or held in the bank for the next year because they weren't able to give it all away. Yep. So heck of a problem to have, but a realistic one. So Jim, you were going to say something to that?
Yeah, just as you looked at, the advice that we give, and certainly on our award ceremony, always you have other professionals that you work with, always get another set of eyes, never be afraid to apply for any of these. Vince is right. There's actually times where there's certain scholarships where we have 1 or 2 people apply, even with WCA, but certainly with MBAA, AEA, AOPA. There's so many opportunities for not only training, professional development, and everything else. So get other people to take a look at your essay, get other people that you trust when, you have those reference letters. Think about that. And I always say, if you're going to write one for somebody else, what are the attributes that you would say that other people who may not ever meet you or meet that person would go, wow, this is a great person. This is a very deserving person, right? And the more sets of eyes you can put on that stuff, the better you'll come across, the more that you'll increase your chance. But, be willing to help others as they struggle. A lot of times we see the applications come through in the resumes, as well as the essays, and you can tell probably somebody hasn't written one of these in a long time, and you want to reach out. And I often do. I've talked to many of you on this, as well as other recipients in the past, about what should go into these, because people are just looking for some guidance and some help. So be willing to apply anywhere and everywhere, but also put your best foot forward when you have the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, and thanks for mentioning the other 2 associations that I neglected to mention. And there's so many. There's AAAE, there's ATCA. All of them have scholarships that they give out, and they are looking for the recipients, to apply. The candidates to apply. So it's out there. As we kind of wrap things up, I just wanted to see if anyone else, if anything, thoughts were triggered as we close this out from any of you that have any final comments to make. Floor is open.
I think I'll talk really quick. I think the hardest thing getting into aviation is, at least when I was trying to get in, people always told me to network and, reach out and branch out. And I'm a little introverted myself, and I found that was really tough. But if I was to make a recommendation for someone who's like just trying to break into aviation, is just get involved in like one or two things that you're interested in, like join a women in aviation chapter, or join a AAA chapter, or like a local chapter to get into. You don't have to be the president. You don't have to be a chairman. You could sit in the back of the room and just like going and just showing that initiative will eventually lead you to more opportunities. Because I think a lot of people really are like, well, I need to be the best. I need to be the president immediately. And it's like, no, you can see if you like it first. If you don't even like it, then you can leave.
And then if you do like it, join a committee,
exactly.
Get involved in the committee, some type of activity to help the organization, but also you'll get to meet more people. So and I'll piggyback off of that and say, try to go to whatever aviation event you can too, whether it's a regional, a national, whatever the case may be, like the big one coming up next week, although that's just the aviation festival of the world. But any aviation event is a great place to meet people and learn more about the industry, and possibly meet somebody that can help you in the industry. So anybody else want to chime in? We have about 2 minutes left. Everybody else is like, no,
I was going to say, Meagan, the one I'll have to talk to you separately, but I'd be very curious. There's a good chance I think I might know the construction or the outfit with the aircraft you were talking about before. And that's the one thing that everybody, you don't realize. Business aviation is all around us at all times. You're talking about, NFL owners that all own corporate aircraft. You're talking about teams that use, different types of VVIP transport. You're talking about the glass, or I see you drinking a Coke, I think, Terry. And of course, I work with Big Coke and I work with Little Coke, both in Atlanta and the Carolinas. But business aviation and everything that you drive, use, or something else, I could find you a business aircraft that's tied to it somewhere. So it's in all of our lives every day. Most people just don't see it or, time together. So, well,
you drive past an airport and you see white hangars with no names on them. And most people don't realize that most of those are corporate aviation hangars. Yep. And there's a reason, by the way, from a security standpoint, et cetera, that they don't blast where their airplanes are hanging out and things like that. Security and competition, I should say. Hey, listen, everybody, it's been great to have you on. Congratulations to all of you winning those scholarships. I wish all of you the very best with your careers, whether you're on the early starting in like Christina, or you're shifting gears like Pam, or somewhere in between. I think it's great, all of what you're doing. It's great for our industry. And something that Jim said earlier, our industry is wide open right now. There is opportunity galore everywhere in any aspect of it, both on the aviation, aerospace side, business and corporate aviation, commercial side. If you want to do something in aviation, I'm sure you can find it if you try hard enough. So, but thank you everybody for joining the show. Really appreciate the opportunity to have you guys on board.
Thank you, Vince. Very much appreciate you putting this together, and WCA on behalf of all the leadership there. Thank you for bringing this group of our scholarship recipients together.
Absolutely. All Things Aviation and Aerospace video podcast is a presentation of Private Air Media Group and is available to watch on via my Private Air Media channel on demand via my Private Air Media channels, YouTube, LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, and it's also available in the audio only version on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you choose to listen to your podcast. As I mentioned, I will be at EAA AirVenture at Whitman Regional Airport in Oshkosh, Wisconsin next week, with 650,000 of my closest aviation enthusiasts, 10,000 aircraft, thousands of campers. We'll be checking out 800 plus exhibitors and 1,400 aviation STEM-oriented forums and workshops. And I will also be doing my show from the EAA Youth Education Center there next week. So looking forward to that, and I hope to see you guys there. But until then, please take care, stay safe, safe flying if you're a pilot like me, and blue skies.